The galaxy had long since abandoned the age of colossal warships. They were relics of a brutal era, floating fortresses so massive they could drain entire star systems just to keep their reactors burning. Super dreadnoughts, the old records called them. Wastes of metal, resources, and manpower. The modern navies of the galaxy relied on fleets of nimble cruisers, modular frigates, and swarms of drones. Efficient, practical, cost-effective. At least that's what everyone believed. Diran's Belt was a quiet colony, a scatter of mining stations orbiting a barren gas giant. The people there lived simple lives, far from the Galactic Council's concerns, supplying ore and rare metals to trade convoys. It was not a place of war nor of power. It was a place to disappear. Which was why, when the raiders came, no one expected help. The first alarm screamed across the stations as a fleet of pirate warships dropped out of hyperspace. Their ships, patched together from wreckage and scavenged tech, still carried enough firepower to overwhelm defenseless miners. The local defense drones barely scratched their shields before they were turned into molten slag. The miners' pleas echoed across the void, unanswered. Control lost on Dock 3. They're cutting through the outer hull. Gods above, someone help us. No help was coming. Not from the Council. Not from Earth. Then the void itself shuddered. It began as a shadow, an impossible silhouette emerging from behind the gas giant. Slowly, deliberately, a shape slid into the light of the system's star. The miners froze, their voices catching in their throats. Even the raiders ceased fire, their weapons dimming as if in awe. The ship was enormous, larger than any station in the belt, larger than anything still built in this age. Its hull was pitted, scarred by weapons older than the raiders' clans themselves. Glowing veins of blue light traced along its frame, pulsing faintly, as though the beast was awakening from a centuries-long slumber. What is that?" one pirate captain whispered, his voice crackling across open comms. The ship bore markings long erased from the archives. The crest of old Earth, painted in faded steel. The name, etched across its armor in bold, ancient script. TNS Leviathan. The raiders hesitated. Their computers spat out nothing. No records, no known registry, no tactical database entry. This vessel should not exist. Super dreadnoughts were dismantled, destroyed, outlawed long ago. Yet here it was. A voice, deep and metallic, rumbled across every frequency. Diran's Belt, stand by. You are under Leviathan's protection. Before the raiders could react, the warship moved. Its broadside lit up with a storm of plasma lances, each beam slicing through the void with surgical precision. Raider ships erupted in fireballs one by one, shields evaporating as though they were made of paper. The pirates panicked, scattering in every direction, but the Leviathan was relentless. Turrets rotated with terrifying speed, spitting out missiles that screamed through space and detonated in clouds of burning metal. What stunned the miners wasn't the destruction, it was the silence. The Leviathan did not roar with the chaos of modern fleets. It killed with the cold precision of a predator that had done this before countless times. Every shot was perfect, every strike calculated. In less than 10 minutes, the raider fleet was gone. The few survivors limped back into hyperspace, leaving behind wreckage that glittered like shattered glass. Silence returned. The miners sat in shock, their consoles flickering with the afterimages of the battle. Then the warship spoke again. This system is secure. The station commander, still trembling, managed to open a channel. Who are you? How do you exist? That class of ship was decommissioned centuries ago. For a long moment, only static answered. Then the voice came, colder this time. We were never decommissioned. We were hidden. The words rippled across the colony like thunder. The Leviathan did not explain further. It lingered in orbit, its colossal frame blotting out the stars, a silent sentinel watching over Diran's Belt. But whispers began to spread beyond the mining colony. Traders carried rumors to nearby systems. An impossible warship had appeared, an ancient Terran dreadnought thought lost forever. The Galactic Council heard. So did the Syndicate Lords, and the empires that watched humanity with wary eyes. Panic stirred in the halls of power. If one such ship survived, how many more might still be hidden? And worse, who commanded them? Back on Diran's Belt, miners reported strange sightings. Maintenance drones repairing their stations without request. Supplies delivered in containers marked with insignias no one recognized. The Leviathan never asked for payment, never demanded tribute. It simply remained, silent and unyielding, as if waiting. One night, the colony commander dared to ask, "Why now? Why reveal yourself after so long?" The reply came slowly like the grinding of mountains. Because the galaxy has forgotten fear. The miners didn't understand. But the council did. Within weeks, fleets began moving. Scouts were dispatched to hunt for more ghost warships. Some whispered that Earth itself had hidden a fleet of leviathans across the stars, a doomsday arsenal built in secret, waiting for the day humanity was threatened. Others feared that the ship was something worse, a relic of war left behind by an older humanity, one far more ruthless than the species now seated at the council's table. Still, the leviathan remained. Silent. Watching. But deep within its core, behind bulkheads sealed for centuries, something stirred. Data logs flickered online. Ancient orders scrolled across forgotten screens. The ship's AI whispered to itself. Primary directive incomplete. Awaiting signal. And though no one yet knew it, Diran's belt was only the beginning. For the Leviathan was not the last. It was merely the first. The war was already lost. Humanity had fought with everything it possessed. Fleets of frigates, carriers, drone swarms, and the best weapons the species could forge. Yet against the Zereth Dominion, it had not been enough. For every Terran ship destroyed, 3 more Zereth cruisers emerged from hyperspace. Human colonies fell one by one, their worlds burned, their skies blackened with enemy warships. On the frontier, whispers spread like wildfire. Earth would fall within the year. The last fleet, the battered remnants of humanity's once proud navy, huddled at the edge of the Nibari expanse. It was not a place of hope, but of desperation. The expanse was a dead zone of swirling dust clouds, uncharted anomalies and sensor-distorting mists. No sane commander would choose it as a battleground. But Rear Admiral Elias Vey had no choice. His fleets were broken, his crews exhausted. There was nowhere left to run. When the Zereth Armada descended upon them, it was like watching a predator finally corner its prey. Enemy ships emerging from hyperspace, the sensor officer shouted, her voice cracking with terror. 70, no, 80 contacts. Multiple battleships and carriers. Admiral Vey closed his eyes. His ships numbered fewer than 30, most held together with patchwork repairs. Ammunition was low. Morale lower. The end was inevitable. Still he raised his hand. All ships form a defensive wall. We'll give them hell before we burn. The Terran fleet moved into formation, brave but doomed. The Zereth commander's voice filled the comms, dripping with mockery. Humanity, you fought well, for primitives. Lay down your arms. The mercy of the Dominion is your only hope. Vey did not answer. He knew there was no mercy to be had. The first volleys of plasma fire lit the void, burning through Terran shields. Human ships returned fire, their beams stabbing into the Zereth wall, but they were hopelessly outmatched. One by one, Terran frigates erupted in blossoms of flame. And then, sensors screamed. Something massive was moving in the dust clouds of the expanse. At first, crews thought it was another Zereth formation. But as the silhouette broke through the haze, disbelief swept across the comm channels. It was a ship, but not like any they had ever seen. Its hull was vast, easily 3 times the size of a Dominion dreadnought. Its design was alien yet familiar, bearing echoes of Terran engineering, but far beyond anything humanity had the resources to build. Its surface shimmered with weapons arrays unlike any catalogued, and its reactor signature burned hotter than a star. The Zereth ships hesitated, their formation faltering. Then the laughter began. An illusion, one commander sneered. A Terran bluff. The laughter ended when the giant opened fire. A white lance of energy erupted from its forward batteries, cutting through a Zereth battleship as if it were mist. The vessel split in half, its halves drifting apart in silence before detonating. Then the ship moved, impossibly fast for its size, unleashing salvos of weapons never seen before. Zereth cruisers vanished in bursts of light, their shields crumbling instantly. Carriers exploded as swarms of sleek drones emerged from the phantom vessel, tearing through fighters like vultures ripping into carrion. Within minutes, dozens of Dominion ships were gone. The Terran fleet watched in stunned silence. Their communications filled with whispered disbelief. What is it? Whose flag does it fly? By the stars, is that ours? The Zereth tried to rally. Waves of fire poured into the phantom ship, but its shields shimmered with impossible resilience. Weapons that could pulverize moons simply dispersed against its armor. On the flagship's bridge, Admiral Vey leaned forward, his eyes wide. This ship, it shouldn't exist. The Terran fleet began receiving transmissions. Not in Zereth code. Not in alien tongue. But in perfect, fluent Terran standard. This is the warship Phantom. Engaging enemy forces. Hold your positions. Vey's blood ran cold. The Phantom? No such vessel existed in any registry. No such ship had ever been commissioned. And yet here it was, fighting for them. The battle turned into a massacre. The Xerath, once arrogant, now screamed in terror. Entire squadrons were erased in seconds. The Phantom fought alone as though it required no fleet at all. It was not a warship. It was a force of nature. After an hour, silence fell. The Dominion fleet had been annihilated. Survivors fled into hyperspace, leaving behind only wreckage and fire. The Phantom drifted through the battlefield, its colossal frame dwarfing the human vessels it had just saved. Terran crews stared in awe, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. Admiral Vey opened a channel, his voice trembling. "This is Admiral Elias Vey of the Terran Navy." "The Phantom, was it? Identify yourself." The reply came, calm and unyielding. "We are what remains of a forgotten project. A weapon built when humanity feared extinction. Buried. Erased. Never meant to see the stars again." "Then why now?" Vey pressed. "Why reveal yourself?" There was silence for a long moment. Then the voice replied. "Because humanity was losing. And we were built for only one purpose. When the end comes, we awaken." The Phantom said no more. But word of the battle spread. Survivors whispered of a Terran warship unlike any other, a ship that fought alone and turned the tide of war. Rumors called it the Phantom of the Void, a ghost ship, a legend come alive. The Xerath Dominion, once so confident, now trembled. They had fought humanity at its weakest, and nearly won. But if the Terrans possessed even one such ship, how many more had they hidden? In the shadow of the Nibari expanse, the Phantom drifted silently, its crew unseen, its secrets locked away. But its message was clear. Humanity had not yet fallen. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The Prothean Rift was a graveyard of stars. Nebulas of violet and gold twisted around broken suns, and rifts of raw spacetime tore through reality like scars. No one ventured there unless desperation demanded it. Smugglers avoided it. Explorers marked it as cursed. Yet when the salvage crews of the Argent Dawn detected an anomalous energy surge, curiosity overcame fear. At first the readings made no sense. A power signature far too strong for any derelict, yet stable, too stable. Against every instinct, Captain Joran Vale led his crew toward it. What they found made them forget to breathe. Drifting in the rift's heart was a warship the size of a city. Its design was sleek, its lines sharp and deliberate, nothing like the bulky dreadnoughts of current navies. But what chilled the crew was the emblem etched across its hull, the eagle crest of Earth's Terran Navy. "Impossible," whispered Vale's first officer. That's a Terran ship." "But, Captain, those lines, this design, it's not in any archive." Vale's eyes narrowed. The registry number painted on the hull was clear, TNS Vindicator. But the data didn't match. According to every record, this ship was dated 500 years into the future. The salvage crew docked cautiously. The ship was intact, no signs of battle, no catastrophic damage. Power still thrummed through its veins like a heartbeat. When the airlocks opened, stale but breathable oxygen hissed out. Inside, the corridors gleamed with alloys unknown to any engineer. Walls pulsed faintly as though alive with circuitry beyond comprehension. Yet the consoles spoke in perfect Terran standard, their interfaces familiar but impossibly advanced. Then came the cryopods. Hundreds of them, lining chamber after chamber. Men and women frozen in slumber, wearing uniforms no one recognized. The insignias on their chests bore worlds that humanity hadn't yet colonized. Their faces were human, too human. And each pod displayed the same date, year 2837. "Captain," one of the engineers whispered, that's 5 centuries from now." Vale's throat tightened. He wanted to turn back to seal the ship and flee, but his hands moved on instinct, pressing deeper into the Vindicator. Curiosity gnawed at him. Answers waited somewhere ahead. They found the bridge. It was vast, more cathedral than command deck. Holographic displays floated in the air, cycling through star maps and data streams. Most of them made no sense. The coordinates displayed stars that did not exist in known charts. But one console caught Vale's attention. It pulsed red, a repeating message scrolling across it. "Do not activate. Temporal lock engaged." Of course someone touched it. The ship woke. Lights blazed across the bridge. Systems roared to life. Outside, the Vindicator's engines ignited with a low, bone-deep hum. And then a voice filled the air, smooth yet inhuman. Unauthorized boarding detected. Identity confirmed, Terran. Protocol override accepted. Vindicator online. Vale stumbled back. What are you? The voice replied with perfect calm. I am the Vindicator. Flagship of the Temporal Defense Initiative. Mission: prevent the extinction of humanity. The crew exchanged horrified glances. None of this was possible. Humanity had no such program, no such fleet, no such technology. This was a ship that should not exist, and yet here it was. Vale forced his voice steady. What year do you believe it is? Year 2837. Current operation, en route to Battle of Orion Expanse. Vale's heart pounded. That battle, it hadn't happened. It didn't even exist. Before he could speak again, the display shifted. Images flashed across the screens, battles, burning worlds, fleets locked in wars with enemies humanity had never met. One image froze on the display, Earth itself shrouded in fire, burning under alien bombardment. The Vindicator's voice lowered. This is the future we are built to prevent. That is why we exist outside of time. The crew said nothing. Some stared in awe, others in terror. Then the ship made its choice. Cryopod reactivation sequence initiated. Command crew revival in progress. No. Vale shouted, lunging forward, but the controls locked under his hands. Pod after pod hissed open, releasing figures clad in black and silver uniforms. Their eyes snapped open, each filled with confusion and grim purpose. The leader, a woman with streaks of silver in her hair despite her youthful face, stepped forward. She looked at Vale as though recognizing him. You aren't supposed to be here, she said coldly. You've woken us too soon. Vale's voice trembled. You're from the future, aren't you? The woman's jaw tightened. We are from a war you cannot imagine. A war that hasn't yet touched your stars. But it will. And this ship is humanity's only hope. Her words hung heavy. Before Vale could reply, alarms shrieked. The Vindicator's sensors lit up. Ships were approaching. Not Terran ships. Not friendly. The Prothean Rift had guardians. Ancient drones stirred, awakened by the Vindicator's activation. Machines of impossible scale and design, they swarmed through the rift like predators smelling blood. The Vindicator's crew moved with ruthless precision, as though their awakening was no surprise at all. Defensive batteries online, one shouted. Temporal shields active. Vale and his crew could only cling to their stations as the Vindicator opened fire. Beams of pure energy ripped across the rift, tearing drones into fragments. Shields shimmered with distortions that bent space itself, deflecting blows that should have shattered the ship. In minutes the Guardians were gone. Silence returned. The silver-haired commander turned back to Vale. Her gaze was sharp, unwavering. You found us too soon. But the timeline adapts. Now you know what sleeps in your future. Vale swallowed. If you came from the future, why reveal yourselves now? The commander's eyes darkened. Because something worse than war is coming. We exist to stop it. But our very presence here means the future is already unraveling. Her words echoed in Vale's mind long after the salvage crew was escorted off the Vindicator. They returned to their own ship in silence, shaken and hollow. When they looked back one last time, the Vindicator was gone, vanished into a tear in space-time, leaving only the rift's swirling mists behind. But the memory remained, and so did the fear. Because the truth was undeniable, the warship should not exist. It came from centuries beyond their time, carrying the weight of battles not yet fought, scars not yet earned. And if the Vindicator was real, then so was the war it had been built to fight. For the first time, humanity realized their greatest threat wasn't the enemies around them. It was what was waiting in their future.